Liberty Mutual.
Hey, hey,
I
hey,
customize
hey.
everything. Like
Good
Marco's
evening,
backpack.
everybody. How you doing? How you
Here's
doing?
no
How you doing? Let's go,
chips.
let's go, let's go. You know what time it is. You know what time it
Here's
is.
no chips.
Let's get ready.
1, 2, 1, 2. Here we go. It's my time to rise. It's my time to shine. It's my time to live. It's my time to fly. It's my time.
That time again, y'all. I'm waiting for my guests to come in the room here. Let me let some people know we are here.
I can feel it. Time has come now to reveal it. I've been waiting for a long time. Gotta do it. And won't let nothing hold me down. Gotta do it. Cause I may not get another chance. I believe it. If I want it, I can have it. I believe it. Done with falling, done with losing. I can do it. I think I'll tell myself again. I can do it. Yeah. And I'm not gonna stop till I win. 'Cause it's my time to rise. Hey, it's my time to
Hey,
shine.
Sexy. How you doing? Sexy Spirit in the house. How you see? All right. Let me see if my guest is here yet. Oh, it's gonna be a good one tonight. It's gonna be Jay. Send me a message. Oh, goodness. Oh yeah, this is gonna be a good one, y'all. This is gonna be a real. It's your time. It's your time this time. Ow.
Like phone.
Oh. All right, Jay.
Who's singing it?
It's your time to shine, my man. Listen, listen, listen. How you doing? Hey, hey, hey. My name is Crystal Bodie Smith, and I am so excited to come tonight as I begin to let people know we are here with Jay Derrell. Listen, Jay, I'm telling you right now, the people will begin to come in the room. This is going to be so good, man, because I felt like it was much needed. But before we do anything else, I want you to tell the people, who is Jay Derrell? I can tell the people you're a retired police officer and a stand-up comedian now, but you could tell it so much better. Introduce yourself, man, and welcome.
Well, you know what I would say. I had to learn to, how can you say it, cut down on my intro, because a lot of people like to have these titles, behind their name or before the name. Me, I'm just simply just call my name, and I come to the stage and do what I do. I don't need to tell you who I perform with or all that stuff. Normally, what I do, I tell people Google me, but
Yes.
you won't see too much of the police part. You know what I'm saying? So if I tell somebody to Google me, then they won't know that I used to be a police officer. They won't know that I was in the military, that I served honorably in the military. So all day, if I tell you to Google me, you're just gonna find the comedy and the acting stuff. But yeah, I ain't gonna say many moons ago, but for a while, I mean, I was a police officer.
Yeah, and let's talk about that for a minute. Man, I want to thank you for serving. I want to thank you so much, because that's how we met. We met when you were over there at the school with my daughter, and you said that you did that because you wanted to help some of our youth. You wanted, to serve the youth. And I commend you for that, because so many people are killing our youth and they're not taking time out to understand them. And you were very understanding in doing that. So I want to commend you for that. And we need more officers out there now who are like you were.
Thank you. Thank you.
Or like how you were. Because it's sad what's going on right now with the youth and with our, older people. I mean, it's rough out there, man. And I know right now you're probably glad that you got out when you did, huh?
You know what, I did, but it wasn't for that reason. You know what I'm saying? When I did it, it was because physically I couldn't do it anymore. Because like I said, when I was I was an athlete through high school, went in the military at 17. I stayed 10 years, and military, I was infantry. I was 82nd Airborne. I used to do special ops and all that stuff. So physically it took a toll on me. And then when I became a police officer, you know, it's physical work, you know.
Yeah.
But good thing for me, I didn't have to chase a lot of people because I knew how to talk to people, you
Yeah.
know. Especially dealing with somebody who looked like me. I just talked to them like they were family, like it was a cousin at a barbecue, you know, and pretty much I could
We don't
relate to them.
have to do that, Jay. And I understand now, like, especially with these traffic stops, when they stop people now, I understand they pretty much can see your whole rap sheet. So a lot of officers are intimidated when they stop somebody because they already know that they got a 10-page rap sheet, that they're carrying a concealed weapon, that they have been in assault, that they have attempted murders. How do you feel about that? How did that make you feel as a retired officer, knowing that the officers have that access? Does it cause them to prejudge before they even go up and stop them and say, hey, let me get your license and registration? They already got it.
It do. My thing, me as an officer on a traffic stop is one of the most dangerous uh, part of the job for a police officer, because you're right. There's not one traffic stop that's the same. Every traffic stop is different. I mean, you could be on the same street. You can stop them for the same, say, speeding. They could be going the same speed as the first car, second car, but it's different because the driver, because who's in the car, who's in the passenger side. And a lot of people don't know their rights. They with Google, people will Google stuff, but is Google 100% right? No. You better go and get the book. Go to your
The
go
library, right? They better the
and
library
search it.
up, right?
And laws changes, and there's
Yeah,
up all the time.
yeah,
So people don't. It's hard. I put it that way. It's hard, and yeah, it depends on the police officer, his training as well, and his people skills. Because I pull people over. Okay, somebody's speeding. When I get up there and I pull somebody over, I automatically know people gonna be nervous, especially if people who've never been pulled over before. People don't know. Some people don't know how to pull over. Some people, they scared. They'll speed up. Some of them will get in an accident. Some of them, when
yes,
they stop, I mean, they don't get off the road far enough and cause a hazard. A lot of times that, people just don't know. When I worked in the school system as a school resource officer, I would go and talk to the driver's ed teacher and say, hey, why don't do y'all have anything in your program where you talk to these young drivers and teach them how to pull over if
wow,
they're stopped by a police officer? If the
yes,
lights go on, what do they do? Do they know what to do? And they don't have that in the curriculum. They
yeah,
don't. They don't. So that's something that I think should be taught. And, hey, pull over as far as you can, in a lighted, well-lit area if it's at nighttime, but have both hands on the steering wheel. And just when they come, you don't have to roll your window all the way down, but at least where they can hear you, where you can hear them and where you can pass out your information to them. There's nothing in the law said that you have to roll your window all the way down, you
wow.
know, but you do.
Somebody just yesterday, and they were telling me that when they get stopped by a police officer, they already have their license, their registration, they already have everything ready, so that when they come, all they have to do is hand it to them and keep their hands right on the steering wheel. They don't have to move. They said they actually don't even say it's a male. He said, Crystal, I don't say anything to them. If they ask me a question, I nod yes or no. And he said, I have the least amount of conversation with them to get them on their way, let them go do what they got to do and send them on their way. He said, when they come back, I nod yes. If they ask me, they give me back my stuff and I'm on my way. He said, I don't say anything.
Right. Well,
So
that
say
is,
that, I think a lot of people cause problems because they talk too much, because they get asking too many questions and they get to doing too much stuff. And that's where the altercation comes sometimes. Would you agree?
it does, but like I said, I think it really depends on that officer, because I don't really, when I used to stop cars, I didn't care where you was going. I didn't. I just, if I stopped you because your tail light, your headlight was out or whatever, 9 times out of 10, when I get up there, I already know what I'm going to do. A lot of times I'm going to give you a warning, because a lot of times, hey, we all human. People don't check their cars. They don't walk around the car, check the tires, see if the tire's flat. They don't check and see if their registration plate is current. A lot of people don't know, but car insurance, I could stop you. I could run your tag and the insurance can be out. That means that vehicle don't need to be moving. But if you're not the registered owner, I can still write you a ticket. But I mean, the thing is, you're not financially responsible for that vehicle. So I can make you pull the car over and get out and, call somebody else to come, pick you up. But I mean, it's just, it all basically goes down to the officer. And some officers do have attitudes. A lot of officers, think that, they just trying to take people to jail. It's not a race. I've had some officers be like, oh, I done bakered. They use acronyms and stuff. Oh, I bakered a guy. I mean, they wrote him a ticket. Oh, yeah, I arrested 5 guys on a.
Yeah, they got a quota. It's like they have a quota. And the new ones, are they more excited? The new ones are really ready to arrest somebody. They want to go back and prove something.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Well, see, this is what I tell people. You have to do your job. See, as a police officer, say you have 6 officers and you have a supervisor, a sergeant. You have six officers and 1 supervisor. That supervisor is basically, how can he evaluate you if you're doing your job? If he don't see paperwork, if he don't see the arrest, if he don't see the citations written, if you don't see the police reports, you answering calls, 911 calls. That's how they evaluate officers to see if they're working. Because believe it or not, a police officer, he can just don't write no tickets. He can just answer 911 calls when the dispatcher send him somewhere. He can go there and maybe talk. If it ain't a serious call to where he has to do a written report, he could go sit in his car and go park behind a tree and go to sleep. And next thing you know, a year later, he's getting his evaluation. He's getting paid. He's getting a raise. And here I am. I'm busting my butt. I'm going to every call. Every time they send me, I'm going here. I'm doing community service. I'm writing some tickets, some violations. I don't care if it's a written warning or a verbal warning. I'm doing this. And I don't get a raise because, for what? Why? That's one thing I say when people talk about quotas. When you look at a local police, now state troopers is different.
Yes.
State troopers, basically, they don't answer 911 service calls. The only 911 service calls they answer is if it's on the highway, accidents, traffic accidents. They mainly on the main highways writing speeding tickets, and they answering calls for accidents. So yeah, with them, they out there by themselves. Yeah, they they stopping everybody and they writing tickets. I do not know one state trooper who will give you a warning. I'm sorry, they won't. You get stopped by the highway patrol, you gonna get a ticket.
Wow. So be careful. Don't be speeding out there on the highway, because the state trooper is not going to give you a warning. You heard it. Not giving you a warning. You're getting a ticket. So slow down. Now, I know that you had a side hustle at the time while you were doing your police duty after coming from the military. And we appreciate you serving. I heard you say that. So thank you so much for serving the country too. You did comedy. And then it was like a great when you decided to leave the police force. You said, I'm going to go full time doing comedy. How was that decision for you when you decided to do that?
Well, it was, when I started back in 2006. I was married and going through some things, going through some issues. And, I worked, like I said, as a police officer. I could go and I worked off duty at the dance clubs and stuff. And like I said, I was going through a time in my marriage, and I end up, I could have went to the dance clubs and went out there and got my dance on and met other women and stuff. But what I did, I went to the comedy club. I said, I need some laughter. I need, and I went, and the comedians that was there, they weren't really that funny. They weren't helping me. And one of the waiting staff told me, she said, well, if you think you're funny, you should get up there. I said, I will.
Ooh.
Like, this was on a Wednesday night at Good Nights.
Wow.
It was like,
She put you out.
I couldn't come up that night because they already had the show set. But like every Wednesday, come sign up. So, and they'll give you 5 minutes. So I did. I came, I went back, and what I did, that was on a Wednesday. That Saturday, due to my being a police officer, like I said, I worked off duty at clubs. I was fortunate to a friend of mine introduced me to JB Smooth. He's smooth. He's a North Carolinian and has family ties here in this area. So I knew I had ties with him, and I actually met him, and he gave me some great advice. Told me to, he said, "Oh, I know you have a lot of jokes about policing and stuff, but on my heart, I wanted to talk about my marriage." So I end up after he gave me some good advice that on that Saturday that I went home and I wrote some jokes. And I went back Wednesday and I got on stage and I did it, my 5 minutes. And afterwards, the man was like, "Man, how long you been doing comedy?" I said, "Today."
Wow.
He was like, "Man, your stage presence, you funny. You act like you've been doing this for a while." And I said, "No," I said, "I've always been crazy. I just, I make everybody laugh, at home, at work, this and that. But, growing up, but I said, this is my first time on stage in front of strangers." And he was like, "Man, you good." And once you get that first laugh, that's all it took. So I kept back. I kept going back, kept writing, kept going back, kept writing, kept going back. And I was meeting celebrities along the way. And a few of them, they was more interested in my policing. They was like, "You're a funny cop." He said, "You got a lot of stuff. You're a comedian trapped inside a police body. I know you're policing, but you're funny." He said, and this is my big brother in comedy, Derrell Hughley.
Yeah.
He said, you probably don't get in a lot of confrontations because you probably joke your way out of it, don't you?" I said, "Yeah, I talk my way out of a lot of stuff or into stuff, And he was like, "Yeah." He said, "Man," he said, "keep doing it. Keep it up. Keep doing it." And that's what I did. I met a whole lot of A-list celebrity comedians, and they hear my stuff and they give, I open up and get all this knowledge from them. I close my mouth, open my eyes and my ears, and just take it all in, soak it all in, and then I just do my thing. So
And I know Derrell is like one of your, like you said, your main squeeze. He definitely does take you by the wing and tell you a lot. What is one of the most effective thing that he's told you that has really helped you with your career from DL?
He basically told me just be myself, and dress the part, because
Dress.
dress the part. He said you are he told me, he said, "You're a funny dude." He said, "But dress the part." He said, whenever you go on stage, people gonna look at you first, especially coming up in the game. Coming up in the game, they're gonna look at you before you even say one word out your mouth. They looking at you. They looking at your feet. They looking at how you dress. And then your jokes is your joke. What are you talking about? Be of substance. Don't get up there and talk about fart jokes or sex jokes. Have some substance. Have something to talk about. Something that's true to yourself. And I mean,
Well, you do that well, because I've been to a couple of your shows. I mean, you really do that well, and you are funny, and it's relatable. Everything you talk about is relatable. So do you read your audience?
I do. I see what I tell a lot of comedians. I said, don't be one of these comedians that come late. Get to the show an hour early and sit back and just observe. Watch the audience. Watch the people as they going in. Because I've been to some shows where they don't start on time, and I'll sit out in the audience. They don't even know I'm the comedian or on the show.
Right.
Headlining comedian. So I'm not. They don't see me and be like, "Oh, there he is," and want to come over and talk to me or whatever. I'll sit back and I'll watch them. And you can see, there's been sometimes I've asked a usher to sit a couple in the front because I want to joke with them. There's something I see that I say, "Oh yeah, I can talk about that." And it's
Do they be know, or they don't be people you know?
some people I know, some I don't know.
Right.
Now I don't personally attack them if I know them. A lot of people I know will tell me they will not sit on the front row.
Oh yeah. Everybody knows if you sit on the front row at a comedy show, you have to be prepared for what comes at you. I mean, I know I don't like to get up to go to the restroom or nothing, because they'll get you. You get up, it's over.
Oh yeah, yeah. But like I said, it depends on some comedians. I mean, a lot of you again, it's about reading the room, but the crowd should know who they coming to see.
Right.
What I'm saying, you know who you coming to see. You know good and well. Paul Mooney, rest in peace. Paul Mooney show you. If you never heard of Paul Mooney and you might want to Google him and look at some of his video before you go. I mean, it's the same with Corey Holcomb. Corey Holcomb, I advise female.
He was just here. Did you go see
Yeah,
him?
I did. I did.
So listen, so you
Disappointed.
someone is liking to go to comedy show, they should Google the comedian first before they go see them.
Right. If they never heard of this comedian, I always say go and Google, go on YouTube and watch a set. Watch one of their sets, because if you go, you might get offended. You know, my thing is you go to comedy shows to laugh.
Yes, yes.
You know, like I said, each show is different because I've
Kind of. I didn't mean to cut you up, but when you said that, everybody has a different type of sense of humor. So that's why we need to Google them to know if you like that person's sense of humor. Is that correct?
Exactly. Especially if you don't know, if you're a fan of comedy, going to comedy shows, you like to laugh, you know, and it's anything. It's like you might be a minister, you know, a gospel minister, and you go to a comedy club. Don't expect that comedian to be a clean comedian. When I say clean, it means, you know, don't think he's going to talk about subjects and using profanity, you know, provocative subjects and profanity. If you know he's not like that, or if you know that comedians like that, and you easily get offended or don't want to hear that, don't go.
Wow.
You know.
So let me ask you a question. Now, you know, in the last couple of weeks, it's been a hot topic. Everybody's talking about the Oscars and everything happened with the big slap that around the world. And it was a lot of talk on the internet, Derrell. And I want to ask you, because of your background about that, I heard a lot of people giving their opinions. I heard a lot of people saying some things. And I wanted to talk for a minute about certain things like defamation of character, because it seemed like it was a lot of people out there that could have crossed that line when they were giving their opinion, and they could almost put themselves in a situation to have a civil lawsuit against themselves because they were just, you know, they were doing some stuff.
Yeah.
And I just want to know from a law perspective, do you think some people kind of was borderline on that, the way they were going about expressing themselves? Because I heard a lot of people getting on talking about what they would have did, and if you did this, and if you did that. Let's talk about that for just one quick second. Do people have to be careful about the way they say things? Because even though it might be a false statement, if it's presented as a fact and damaging, that's defamation of character, right? And that could be something somebody could sue somebody about, correct?
It's not really a defamation of character if it's true. If it's the truth. The truth is what Will did. I mean, it was broadcast. Millions of people saw it. It was international incident, an incident that happened internationally. Everybody from all over the world saw the slap. It was, I mean, I don't care if it was in Spanish, if it was in Portuguese, whatever type of language, it was still an assault. And coming from, okay, like I said, I can relate to Will Smith in that, you know, as being a husband. You want to defend your wife, your significant other. That's what you want to do. Okay. I can see it as Chris Rock's side. I'm a comedian. I'm telling a joke. This is my job. The Oscars have me up here. I'm not up here because it's just a fun thing to do. He's there because of who he is, Chris Rock. He's been a host in the past. So he's making a joke. You know, he's not. Well, I don't feel he was attacking her. He was just doing his job, being telling a joke, and was about to present an award. I can see as a police officer, there was police in the building, but they said there was one that was backstage. He didn't see it. Now, if that officer was standing there on the side and he saw the whole thing, that officer could have arrested Will without his justification would have been, you committed a crime in my presence, a misdemeanor. You committed a misdemeanor in my presence, and I have the authority to arrest you by the state, whatever state they was in, I think California, but pretty much like here in North Carolina, if I was standing on the side as an officer and I witnessed that, I would have went and arrested Will. I would have probably got another officer. We would have went and told him to come with us. Wouldn't have put him in handcuffs to embarrass him or to try to or whatever, but I'd be like, Mr. Smith, I need to talk to you. And he would have went to jail.
So, but let's talk about some of the people and their reactions. I'm talking about more or less, and I get what you're saying. I thank you for that. A lot of people don't understand that assault is putting your hands on somebody. I mean, a lot of people, Derrell, don't understand what communicating a threat is. So
Right.
a lot have been communicating threats online, talk about what they would do if they were in that situation. And so that's the point I'm talking about, is people understanding how you have to be careful about the things you say out your mouth, because there is such a thing as communicating a threat.
Right. Well, you know what? The thing about it, when they you take the incident when Kanye and my big brother DL, he clearly was communicating threats. He clearly was communicating threats, but the threat, who he was communicating the threat, DL wasn't, feeling that. He wasn't worried because he has his security. Hey, you know, it is what it is. You run up on me, you're gonna get these hands. You know, you look at the Will Smith situation, like you said, it's a court of public opinion. People are, I mean, from everybody, from other celebrities to little old me, we all have our opinions on it. Now, unless we are out there saying, you know what, Will Smith, when I find you, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna, real serious threats. Then yeah, I can see, if Will's like, I feel my life is being threatened by this guy. I want to press charges or I want a police report. Blah blah blah. But
And that happened. That could happen. I mean, Will,
yeah,
if he wanted to, he could have thought that from his brother's reaction.
yeah,
So people do have to be careful. Am I right? Because
they do, they do.
is against the law, correct?
It is. It is. You cannot communicate a threat. That's just like the president. I don't care who's the president. You cannot say certain things or you'll be getting a knock on the door. you know, you think Secret Service ain't no joke. You be like, how did they get here that fast? Because you done made some threats. You done said something that was out of line. Now they gonna come and check you. Whether you get arrested or not is the question, but that you will be detained and questioned. What were your motives? What did you meant to say? Are you just angry because this is your favorite actor who was getting picked on or whatever, and he just, you defending him? A lot of times I know in police work, it's like the victim has a lot of the power. And in Will's case, Will's very fortunate that Chris Rock hasn't pressed charges.
Right.
See, there's no statute of limitations. Chris could go back, come next week and say, hey, I'm ready to open up and talk about what happened.
So
Because
let's
he's been quiet.
what is the statute of limitations? How long does a person have to change their mind?
It depends on the crime. Depends on the crime. Stuff like murder, there's no statute of limitations on murder. But there are limitations on certain things, especially if you're talking about criminally. Civilly, that's a different side. But yeah, Chris keeping quiet.
Yeah, he's very quiet. But if you agitate him, or if his family talk to him, he still has time. He can still.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And so people have to
and think about what people don't understand. Not he can still get, even though it's already been said that he spoke to law enforcement and don't want to press charges. He don't want to seek criminal charges, but civilly. Ooh, yes, Lord. And not only can he sue Will personally, he got the Academy Award because they didn't save him. He didn't feel safe. He was assaulted. So he can get some money out of this big time. He can.
So let me ask you a question. And we know the obvious answer, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Is threatening as a joke permissible?
That is probably, I would say no, because it's as a joke. If a comedian on stage, and I've done that before. I've had a joke where, I'll talk to somebody, I'll be like, what'd you say? Man, I'll kick your, like that. But everybody's laughing. It's a joke. But if I'm off that stage, I'm not protected. I'm not protected. If I'm on that stage, a comedian, your platform, that's your job. You should be protected. You know what I'm saying? We got, what is it, the Second Amendment? Freedom of speech.
Freedom.
That.
But now that's interesting you said that, because there's a balance between freedom of speech with the other's right to be subject to defamation, or the other's right to be subject to feeling threatened. So if the person doesn't really know the comedian, and the comedian, they're gonna have to do that to somebody they know. Because if they say that to somebody they don't know and that person feels threatened, even though they were joking, that could be a problem, right?
But again, it goes back to why you come to the comedy club. You come to the comedy club in small writing. It has, hey, don't heckle the comedian. A lot of times
Oh,
comedians,
it's in writing?
yes, not, yeah, they have it. Don't heckle the comedians. Don't, because they'll put you out and you won't get a refund. A lot of clubs across the country is like that. You can't, the comedian can get up there and talk about anything that they want to. If
Wow.
you disagree with them, then get up and leave.
Yes.
Or don't laugh. That's one thing that will hurt a comedian more than you lashing out wanting to assault them. Is not, don't laugh, because there's nothing more, that makes a comedian upset or thinking, oh gosh, that joke must not have been funny. Nobody's laughing,
Wow.
or people getting up, walking out. Now I've been to a Paul Mooney show where he was telling some jokes and white people was getting up, walking out. And somebody closest to the stage was like, hey, Mr. Mooney, he said, white people walking out. And Paul was like, I know. They know my show. They better Google me. They know. If they didn't know, they know now. If they didn't know,
Wow.
that's all right. I'm getting my check. I already got paid. We already got their money.
Wow.
Should have knew what they was coming for. And they right.
That's interesting, Derrell. I never think to read all the small print when I buy a comedy ticket.
Mm-hmm. It'll be something, a lot of times if it's not on the ticket, it's like if you purchase a ticket online, read all that stuff. A lot of people don't want to read all the stuff when they purchase a ticket. Read that stuff. It has different stuff up there, especially after this thing with
Oh, they probably gonna add a lot more stuff now.
right.
They're gonna add a lot more stuff.
They're gonna probably end up having security standing by the stage and everything.
Yeah, and a lot of people have a lot to say about the wife and what she's done to Will. And I was reading up on, and a lot of people may not be aware, you can't file defamation of character against your spouse. So that's interesting. So your spouse can say some stuff about you, and then everybody else think that gives them the right. Even though you might have a public image, you still have to be careful what you put your mouth on for other people.
But you know what though? It's not illegal though. It's not illegal because you think about it. We as a comedian, and see Chris Rock, I was told in the past, you always research the greats and
Yes.
habits and what did they do to find the funny, the humor in.
Yes.
Chris Rock, it was told that every day Chris Rock would read 3 to 5 different newspapers. He would have a subscription to the New York Times, the U.S. Today, or a Washington Post, and he would read the current events, especially whatever city he was in. That's what he talked about because
Wow.
it related to people. That's just like, okay, we here in Raleigh, people go get the News and Observer. They would local news, what's going on in Raleigh or surrounding areas. You know what I'm saying? That's why a lot of people used to like go to Good Night's Comedy Club, and they would like, a comedian that's from California come and they'd say, oh, we're Durham. They'd name a street in Durham and say Durham, and people be like, ooh, how he know about Durham? How he know that's the hood part of Durham? Because he did his research and he can talk about it because he can relate to the crowd. There might be some 2, 3 people in the crowd that's from that area.
Yeah.
But
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think that because of what happened, it's going to cause a problem for comedians in the future? You think more people are going to think they can react and get up there and go to the stage? Or if they don't get up, you think more people will be confrontational now that they've seen this on the Oscars?
Well, what comedy clubs will do, and I'll go ahead and tell you what a lot of other comedians don't have what Will have to lose. Will Smith, a lot of people are like, well, Will don't have much to lose. His net worth is $350 million. You're right, but Will reputation, he was known as a good guy from day one. He's been in the business over 30 years. And then this happened. This happened. It's not going to knock him all the way down. He ain't got to start from ground zero.
Not from zero.
No, not from zero, but he's going to have to do some PR work and get his, get his way. Just
Not
like
from the 10th floor, maybe the 10th floor.
just like Michael Vick. Michael Vick, people condemn Michael Vick for that dog stuff. And they was like, he should never play football again. And I'm like, why you got to stop this man from working? It ain't like he was a dog catcher. His job was catching dogs, and he got convicted of dog fighting. He was a football player. So let that man live. Let him come back and play football once he did his time, and let him come on back and do his thing. But people are like that. People is like, oh, well, Chris Rock shouldn't host any more shows because what he said, the joke won't even funny. Well, okay, it might not have been funny to you, but there's video evidence that, one, he said it, two, the crowd laughed, and Will Smith even laughed at the joke. So, I mean, it's more to it.
Really don't know. A lot of people can say that, but come on, Derrell. We could be cracking up still from the previous joke. You really know what a person is doing. But let me ask you this. So have you decided from this incident, to change anything about the way you do comedy?
No, because my type of comedy, I don't attack people. Like I said, if I'm gonna talk about somebody in the audience, that's why I say I come early to look at people. I come and read my audience. A lady with close cut haircut, no, I'm not gonna say anything because in my family, my mother had cancer. She had to take her hair off and everything. So when I see a woman with a bald head or whatever, automatically in my mind, I'm thinking she might have cancer or something. So no, I'm not going to talk about nothing like that. My thing.
So good that you said that. So comedians are human beings too. So some of them will not touch certain topics because it's personal and because it's a personal.
Right.
Others may be more subject to it. So now with the comedians who do that type of comedy, do you feel as though many of them will redirect and change it? I know some of them have made it very clear that they are not going to tolerate if walk up.
If the comedian is known for that, they're not going to change. What they're going to do is from now on, a lot of them they're going to talk about this in their set. That might be the first thing that come out their mouth when they get on stage. Come running up here. If you don't like my show, you can leave. Get your refund or whatever, or Google me. You should Google me. You should know the type of comedian, the type of jokes I do. So if you come and you get offended, then you shouldn't be at my show. And that's how it's going to be from now on. A lot of comedians I don't think a lot of them going to change. Nah.
I was going to ask next, do you think some of the venues will step up the security or change anything on their end?
I think they're going to put it in writing. I've seen some of them put it in writing and stick it, right there for all of them to see in big letters talking about it, I think they might increase security and the placement of security. But I'm gonna tell you one thing that they don't do at security clubs, at comedy clubs, that they need to. Might need to warn people, start checking them out, because they don't pat them down like they do at a dance club. Somebody might, next thing I hate to say it, but somebody might get mad and stand up and take a shot. They can't fight, but they can shoot. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of comedy clubs might need to look into
protecting themselves.
Yeah, running a wand through them before they come in. It's that bad now.
That's so. Let me switch up a minute. So you said something earlier. You said you were married, and you said I understand Chris's point, and I understand Will's point, because I will protect mine. So how far is too far to go to protect your loved one?
I put it this way. I think, Will is a comedian himself. He might not be a stand-up comedian, but he's a comedic actor. He's funny. He acts and he's done funny roles that make you laugh. So he understands the comedy, of situations and stuff. again, I think it's his relationship, the battles he going on with his relationship within his house with his wife and his kids, and then that red table, they come into the table and they business, very intimate details are coming out about their marriage and all that stuff. And as a comedian, they gonna talk about it. Comedian get you giving them material.
Yes. Ooh, I done seen
And,
a lot of material out here. Ooh.
and comedians are gonna go after that, and they gonna talk about it. So, you know, him defending himself, that's just like Chris didn't come out and call her out her name. He didn't come out and call her the B word. He didn't call her C word. He just made a reference to the movie G.I. Jane. I seen the movie. I'm military, so I know that as a Navy SEAL, there's no females in Navy SEALs. So in that movie, Demi Moore she was, they was doing a project where she was going to go through the Navy SEAL school, which is a very hard school. Grown men, muscular men fail that school every day. And she went there, and to fit in, she shaved her hair off, had a buzz cut, and she still looked like a woman. She looked nice. She was beautiful, but I could see where Chris was going with that joke. I don't think Chris was being malicious and trying to pick on her about her losing her hair.
So you think he was being creative and you thought it was tasteful?
Yeah, I think he did. I don't think he was looking at her saying, you're bald head because you got alopecia. No, I don't think Chris was like that. And we don't even know if he actually knew. A lot of people assume, well, he put it out there. Not everybody watched Jada Pinkett Smith Red Table. I don't watch it. There's a lot of celebrities that don't watch it. You know what I'm saying? If it was Will Smith's Red Table and Will Smith was up there all the time, yeah, maybe he'd get more followers or whatever. But with her, no, not everybody watched her show, and not everybody knew. And I don't think Chris knew. If he knew, he probably would have stayed away from it completely, because I don't think when Will stood up and came up there, I don't think Chris thought that what he said would get him a hard slap on the face.
So I want to go back to what you said. As a retired police officer, if you're just coming in, Jay Derrell is a retired police officer and a comedian. And he did make a very valid point. He said, it is assault. So if you put your hands on somebody, if you walk up there and try to hit them, you're going to jail. If there's an officer there, they can arrest you whether the person wants to press charges or not. If they witness it, they can arrest you. Yeah. So be very careful. He also said some valid points about if you're going to a comedy show, do your research, because you need to know who you're going to see. If you've seen them on TV, if you want to go see them, Google them and find out if you have that type of humor that they have, because everybody's humor is not the same. Everybody's style of comedy is not the same. Right. And very sensitive. Maybe you don't need to go to a comedy show. Should sensitive people not go to comedy shows, Derrell?
Yeah, if you're sensitive about different, again, it goes back to you knowing that comedian. If you know this comedian is a political comedian, Chris do political jokes. If you know they're a political comedian and probably about half of his material is going to be on Donald Trump, you are a Donald Trump follower, and I might don't want to go to that show. Because especially if you cannot hold your tongue, you're going to be sitting there, and while he's talking about Donald Trump, you're shouting at the stage, don't you talk about Donald Trump and blah, blah, blah. You might don't need to go to that show, and those are two things I leave out of my set. I don't talk about politics, and I don't do religion.
Yeah, I don't like political jokes. Don't turn me on. They don't make me laugh. I'm going to tell you something. Laughter is so good for the soul. Guys, if you are stressed out, if you need a break, if you are just overwhelmed, if you are working too much and you need an outlet, and you've never been to a comedy show, go to a comedy show and do your research. Find out who you want to listen to. Now, Jay, in this area, you have a show coming up. When is that?
April 23rd down in Clayton. It's going to be at Instill Distillery. And basically, it's like I call it open mic, where it's up and coming talent, new talent, people giving other people opportunity who's funny around the house, at family reunions, cookouts, stuff like that, come on, and and I tell them ahead of time, write some jokes down. There's some people out there think that they can. Oh, I'm naturally funny. I'm funny. My cousin, coworkers say I'm funny, and then they, you get them on stage, they froze like a deer in headlights. They don't know what to say, and they start, just reaching and grabbing for air and saying anything. A lot of people want comedy. They want to be able to, relate to that comedian or whatever that comedian talk about. They want to be able to relate to it. That's how.
Here, I got my grandson here. I'm trying to tell him to do something in
So
between. Listen, I want to ask you this. Should they bring support? Should they bring their own people? Like when you go to a comedy show, did you start out first by having some people that came with you or family so that you knew you had some people in there that was going to support you? Or you just went cold turkey?
I just went and was doing it. As I was doing it, one of my very first paid shows that, when you turn professional, when I first got paid and I didn't know who was in the crowd, it was 3 or 4 different police officers that was in the crowd.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and I did police jokes. I did some police jokes, and they was like, dude, you only are funny, but I can relate to what you're saying. All
Yes.
jokes,
Yeah.
I visualize what you were saying because I am a police officer. I was like, really? What? And then we get into the discussion of what department. And then they go back and it's like word of mouth.
Yes.
I mean, I remember we were sitting in the squad room and one of the guys was like, what you doing this weekend, White? And I was like, man, I got a comedy show. And dude, look, he said, you do stand-up comedy? And then another officer walked in and was like, yeah, man, he is funny. You got to go check him out like that. And so
Wow.
it was pretty much just word of mouth within the department. And then
Wow.
the next thing I know, more shows I was doing.
Out.
Yeah, people was coming because they wanted to see. They wanted to see.
Wow. So I'm going to let you tell the people how they can follow you and everything too. But I want to ask you this. If there's somebody that goes back and plays this or they're listening and they're interested in doing comedy, but just don't know how to start. And I know you said go to like an open mic. What other suggestions would you give them in regards to wanting to be a comedian and not knowing what direction to go to get started overall? I mean, to get.
I would say the first thing to get started is determine what do you want to do. Do you is this just a hobby, something you just want to go and just let off some steam or tell a joke here or there? Or are you looking at making this a career? You don't, or you have to figure out what you want to do with it because it's how they say it's work, but it's not really work. If you love what you're doing, it's not work.
Right.
Well, comedy is a job, but
Yeah.
to me, it don't seem like a job because I mean, I'm like this all the time. I'm like, I'm always looking for the funny in everything. And,
Yes.
I'm always writing jokes in my head. I'm writing jokes. I have my iPhone. Put it in my notes. It goes to my Mac. And by the time I get home, pull it up, and then I can finish typing it up or whatever, I would always say, just write. Just go out and observe stuff. And write. Take your notepad, get your little a voice recorder or whatever. Type, write jokes, write it down, and you can always work on it to get better.
Do they need to get to a certain point before they do that first open mic and dare like you did?
I would say yeah. I would say yeah. Now looking back on it now, I just like I said, I think it would have been different for me if I didn't get that information from JB Smooth. I got that was great. Or Wednesday, hey, come back next Wednesday and go up on open mic. Okay, and then that Saturday. Few days later, I'm talking to a A-list celebrity, and he's giving me pointers and advice. And that Saturday, I go home, couldn't wait to wake up on Sunday morning because I started writing. And then I practice it in my mirror on Monday, practice it and talk it to myself on Tuesday and Wednesday when it was showtime. Boom, I go up there and I did it. Now, of course, it was only 5 minutes, so it's not like I had a lot of time. So I had to write, get to the funny real quick.
Yes.
But once you get that laugh, that first laugh, and people
Yes.
at what you like and telling
Yes.
you that was funny, you good. You crave more, you want more, and you go back and you continue to write. You continue to look at the news. You read newspapers. You talking to people. You go to Walmart. You can get all kinds of jokes out of Walmart.
Now, how did the person decide what kind of comedy they want to do? Like you said, some people do political, some people do stories, some people are just, they do scripts.
Mhm.
There's different kind of comedians. Should a person, how do they figure out what they're good at? If they are interested in comedy, but they don't know, if there's somewhere they can go to kind of see the different types of comedy where they can decide which one they want to do?
Well, I mean, it's like a personal preference, you know. Me growing up, I always like listening to my dad's old records. He had Richard Pryor, he had Red Fox, Rudy Ray Moore, Wild Man Steve, Slappy White, LaWanda Page, Mom's Mabley. Um, and of course, that's during my daddy time, but that's what I would listen to. That's what I loved. I loved I loved the Red Fox storytelling. I like Richard Pryor is telling how it was, how he lived, you know, and his stories of made up characters. So with me, those were my influences. So you know, and then when I did you know, laugh and joke with my friends, I would always imitate them. You know,
Right,
I would, you know, not in a sense, well, at that time, their jokes. You know, we would
right.
always repeat a Red Fox joke or repeat a Richard Pryor joke, and it sort of suited me. I was like, okay, but let me find my voice, because that's one thing in comedy you don't want to do. You don't want to be doing other people's jokes. You
Right. Okay. So that's a good point. And don't be doing no other people joke.
know, right?
Now, a comedian that you still have yet to meet that you can't wait to be in a room with, or to be on stage with, or to just get some nuggets from.
I've worked with a whole bunch. One that I really, really, really wanted to meet. He passed on, which was
Oh,
Bernie Mac.
yeah.
I wanted to meet him. I've been to a couple of his concerts before he passed, and he was funny. And it seems like I know people that are close to him, and just to sit there and listen to their stories of them knowing him personally, you know, I'm like, man, I wish I had that opportunity with him.
But now, wait a minute, Jay. Now, I keep hearing you name all these men. I ain't heard you name no female comedians. You don't have no favorite female comedians?
Oh yeah, some more. I love some more. I actually got to work with her. Actually brought her to Clayton. You know, we did a comedy show, and she was in my hometown of Clayton, and she's very funny. Love her. Lunell, I actually got to open up for Lunell down at the comedy club. But them two, I actually, you know, I work with. Um, Other ones I love Miss Pat. Miss Pat is real cool. I know her, and she's really funny. Hope Flood is funny. Now on the local scene, there's a lot of females that's here locally that I love working with.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? I need to start going back out to, I don't go to Charlie Goodnight that much. I like the improv, so I go to improv a lot. Now, I really like improv. And yeah, I like it's bigger, it's more spaces. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I just prefer that one, you know. Well, I appreciate you taking time out to just share the different ways people need to prepare. It was something that just left my mind that I was going to ask you regarding the comedy. So, what are some of the negative that you probably, if you were going to tell that same person that was getting ready to go out there into comedy, and you would tell them to avoid doing something that happened that you, if you could do it all over again, you wouldn't do it? I know you mentioned about the time, but anything else that has happened that you would forewarn someone going into the comedy industry now to just be careful of?
I would say go in. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. If When I say don't believe the hype, it goes both ways. If you get up on stage and you tell your jokes. You know, you at an open mic. A lot of time your jokes are you're not polished. You know, you that's what an open mic is. You're telling jokes and trying to get your stuff together. You know, so when you get ready to do a headline or a feature set, you know, your stuff is polished. You go right through it. You don't have to pick up your phone, or you don't have to look at some notes, you know, to remind you what your joke, what your next joke is, and all this stuff. I would tell people be prepared. Be prepared. Do your homework. Do your research. I mean, Google and Bing. You know, like you said, if you think, tape yourself and send it to people. Reach out to folks because, you have all these social platforms and stuff. There are comedians out there that will, you send them something, they might answer, might respond. Get a mentor, find a comedy mentor, somebody who can help you, guide you. But always, like I said, be mindful too that not everybody is for everybody, because you could be funny. You could be real funny and people be like, no, I'm not going to help you because you might try to take my job.
That's right.
And so you always have to create your own lane too. Don't think that just because you're funny that celebrities are going to see you and get you, come get you, reach out to you, or comedy clubs are going to book you. No, that ain't going to happen. You're going to have to call bookers and promoters and fellow comedians, and, you have to tape your set and continue to polish, continue writing. Like I have like police joke. I have one police joke. I can tell 30 minutes alone just on this one joke.
Wow.
I can extend it.
Eating up to it though.
Right.
But see, you be careful because some people will get lost if they don't. If they're not good at it, that's not a good idea. You got to be real good at that to tell a long joke.
Right. And but again, it goes back to what is your passion? Are you passionate about this craft? That's just like a singer, a singer, are you going to, if you're real passionate about singing, you're going to learn this song and you're going to sing that song. I don't care how many riffs you do, but if you ain't singing the right words, people going to call you out on it.
That's right. Right.
She sound good, but that ain't the words to that song.
And but there are comedic hosts. Some people could be a host and not actually be the person to be the act. They could just be a host and be funny. Is that a good way to start out, to be a host?
It is good. It is good. And you know what? That's pretty much how you start out normally. If you do a lot of hosting, and then you work your way from hosting and being an opener, from an opener to a featured act. And then maybe one day, when you get enough material, have a set, you can headline. It's a process. It's nothing that you go overnight. There are some people that have been in the comedy game 2 years and they already have a HBO special or a Netflix special or whatever. But those people are really gifted, and a lot of times there's a lot of luck too. It's not who you know.
A featured act or a set. So that's what you heard him say. Start out being a host. You might also be an opening act first. Then you could be a featured act, or you might get up to where you have a set. Now, Jay, as we get ready to close out, I want you to tell the people how they can reach you. But I also want to ask you, any more movies coming up? Because you've done movies too.
Yeah, I have movies that's on Revolt TV. P Diddy. We did a licensed the feature. It was a series, short film series, about 30 minutes long, but they're good. And it's on Revolt TV, the same network that hosts the Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God, or Charlemagne, whatever his name, and Angela Yee. The same network, P Diddy's network, Revolt TV. It's up there. Right now we have another movie I'm shooting at the end of the month. It's a feature.
Proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. You set your mind to it, and you have not stopped.
No,
and
gotta keep.
When you got sick a little bit, you still didn't lose your passion for it, and I commend you for it. And I know God is going to use you because you still out here and you're gifted.
I'm gonna tell you. I almost died.
I know.
This month in April, this week here, I was in ICU, and I was out of my mind. I was talking to dead people. Literally, I'm serious. I was gone. I thought I was gone. And I came back. I had to learn how to walk. I had to learn how to talk again because I have underlying conditions, and that COVID brought all that out. Diabetes, the high blood pressure, the cholesterol. And being a comedian, you traveling and you're going to be eating all kinds of stuff. So I have to learn how to not only take my medication, but eat right when I'm out on the road, And I came back in September, and I was featuring for my big brother, another big brother in comedy, Arnez J. And, that was in September. So pretty much I was kind of nervous a little bit, because you're on stage. I didn't know if I would pass out or if I needed to sit down or whatever. But, God instilled that, he gave me the strength, and we knocked out a whole week of shows.
Now I got to ask you, where my buddy at? Are you gonna do a set with your buddy? Because you know y'all are comical too. Y'all are comical.
Oh, you talking about Oliver?
Oliver, man,
I,
like what
I,
you got?
Oliver.
Ladies and gentlemen, Oliver is he your uncle?
That's my dad's brother. Yep, his baby brother.
His uncle and him have something going on that is amazing on social media. If you have not followed him, tell them where they could pull that up. Do you still do things for Oliver, or that's over?
We do right now. He's had some health issues as well, so he's trying to get better. But yeah, we already in the talking about doing, doing a little show. We call it talking. What we call it? It's something. It's called talking shit with with.
Man, you need to do that because he's good. I think you're gonna.
But see, here's the funny thing. Oliver's not a comedian, but I mean, he everything is natural. It's just pure innocence. I play the how can I say it? I ask him a question and he'll answer, and we just go back and forth. But all his answers is pure innocent answers. It's nothing planned. It's nothing rehearsed. It's just all he's doing is just him. He's just being him. And that's what's so beautiful about it, because he's a harmless person. I mean, I can sit here and I can say, you know what? Just like when we were talking about the Will Smith incident, I talked with him, and I was like, you know what? If that was me, and after Will slapped me and turned around and walked, I would have jumped on him like a monkey, and I would have beat his head. And Oliver looked at me, he said, why were you going to do that? What Will Smith do to you? I said, he didn't do that to me. If he did that to me, and he was like, well, that ain't you, though. I mean, but he'll say stuff, and it would be.
I was saying that too, man. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you. I take care of my sister. She coming in here, so I got to get ready going there to her. But I want you to tell the people how they can definitely reach you. Move over. How they could reach you and the things that they can do to follow you and Oliver, to find out about the local stuff you have, and just how they can reach you on the social media platform.
Okay. Well, of course, J Derrell, JAYDERRELL. Pretty much on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, what else? TikTok, all of it is, the @sign J Derrell. I have another podcast that we're about to come out with. It's called Keeping It 100, after dark. So that's going to be for adults.
Oh, nice.
It's, we're going to cut up on that. I have one of my co-hosts.
Shared too. This is going to be shared on different platforms, Facebook, different platforms too. Yep. I want to thank you so much for taking the time out. I'm just so proud of you. I really am. Frederica says hello.
Oh, I have an app. I'm going to send you a copy of my app. I actually have a J Derrell app where
I love it. I love it. And I love the cartoon. I love the whole thing, the avatar, cartoon, whatever they did. So it's really good. That's why I said, I see what you're doing. Movies, apps, podcasts,
I'm about to do some skits too. Me and Oliver and some other people I know, family and friends. I'm about to do some skits. I mean, I'm about to put this iPhone 13 Pro Max to work.
Okay. Well, keep me posted. Tag me on what you got coming up in Clayton. I'm going to look to try to get out there. I'm going to spread the word to any local people who want to go ahead and get their start and get on stage. They got some jokes they want to tell. And I will share this with you so you can put it on your page, right? Any closing comments you'd like to say to the people?
I just, how can I say it? It's getting warm out there, and people do crazy things when it get warm. Just stay safe and laugh. Don't laugh. If you're going out to comedy shows, do your research on the comedian. If it's your favorite comedian, then you shouldn't have no problem because you already know what they are about, what they're what they material and talk about, so you won't get offended. If you, how they say it, if you easily get offended, don't go to a comedy show.
Wow. And there you have it, folks. J Derrell, Google him, download the app, be on the lookout for those things he has. I will share it, Jay. We're going to put the links in this. When we share this, we're going to put the links in here. Have an amazing day. Go back and see what we did earlier with Coco McMillan today. Stay tuned for the next story time. And if you have a story that you want to share, be sure to hit me up. I am Crystal Bodie Smith, and we want to thank you for coming through, and we look forward to the next story time. And this will be shared on multiple platforms in multiple countries, so you will see this again. Have an amazing day. Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it. All right. Bye-bye.